Sai Ram, everyone.
Hi, Ram.
Okay. Last week, we had discussed a few paragraphs of Dhyana Vahini. I thought I would just go over some of the points which we discussed, because there were quite a few points which were discussed in detail. And I don't know whether there is still some confusion, because there were some questions which came my way. So I thought I would address some of them. And we could discuss, if the participants want, we could discuss a little more and before proceeding. But I will just go over some of the points. I think one of the points which Swami made was that we have to follow the path of truth and righteousness. And these two are essential for us to progress on the path of spirituality or in the path of dhyana. And Swami made the statement that it's easier to say the truth and follow dharma, and it's difficult to say untruth and follow the path of adharma. Swami went on to say that it is always difficult to imagine something which did not exist. Untruth did not exist. So we have to go through the process of imagining something which did not exist. And also, to keep it going, we may have to come up with much more. Same is the path of adharma, because when we follow the path of truth and dharma, our mind will be free. When it's free, actually there's no effort. And Swami says that will lead to fearlessness and success in our life. And I think there were some questions about, it is easier to be adharmic within the successful, I guess, in this world. Is unfortunately the trick which the mind plays, that we think if we go on the path of untruth or adharma, sometimes it seems to make us avoid problems and unnecessary issues in our lives. But the reality is that they will come back to haunt us at some point, which is what Swami seemed to have said. So that was a point which was discussed in detail. The second one was related to the antakarana, which has to make the journey. And I think because the translation had made a statement or had used the phrase inner consciousness, there was a bit of discussion about that. But Swami had used the word antakarana, and in the original translation, Sri Kasturi has only used the word antakarana. He did not use any English word, because in reality there's no English equivalent for the word antakarana. Antakarana, Swami has discussed in many Vahinis. In Sandeha Nivarni, Swami has discussed. Swami has also discussed that in Prashnottara Vahini, in which antakarana is comprised of 4 functions. Antakarana is inner instrument. Anta means inner, and karana is instrument or organ. And Swami has used that word. And so there are 4 functions for this antakarana, which is called manas, buddhi, chittam, and ahankara. Mind, buddhi is the discriminative faculty, one could say. Chittam is the storage of all impressions. And ahankaram is the identification with the body. These 4, according to Swami, and I think in various Sanatana Dharma paths, constitute the antakarana, the inner instrument. It should not be confused with Atman, because Swami has not used the word, because ultimately the journey of the antakarana is to merge with the Atman. And so Swami goes on to say the antakarana, the inner instrument, needs manas and buddhi, the mind and buddhi, discriminative faculty to make a move. Just like a cart cannot move without the bullocks which are tethered to it, without the help of the mind and buddhi, the antakarana cannot move. Normally, the manas and buddhi are always going after the external attractions, or vishayas as Swami calls it, the material attractions in this world. But we have to contain them, we have to train them to walk the path towards the real destination to which we have to move towards. And that's what Swami has said. So then we had a discussion that this antakaranas which comprise of 4 faculties. 2 faculties are the ones which can either go outwards or help the antakarana move forward or towards Atman or inward. And I think that's where we stopped off. And I think I may have used unwittingly the fact that I brought in the concept of causal body, because in Prashnottara Vahini, Swami uses when Swami is asked, what is the causal body, which is subtler than the subtle body, or Sukshma Sharira, Swami says that is comprised of Chittam and the knower. So there are 2 entities which apparently are part of the Karana Deha, or causal body, which is Chittam and the knowing principle, So that you could call the consciousness or the Atman, which is inherent in a human being. And that belongs to, but Chittam, which is a faculty of the Antakarana, has to ultimately merge with this principle of Atman. And that's considered the final merger. Anyway, but that's a bit of aside, I guess. But I thought I will just repeat those comments. I will open it up for any discussion by the members, participants here. If there are none, then we will proceed. So we will wait for anyone to share your thoughts or comments. I'm sure all of you have had time to think about some of this over the past 1 week. And if you have something to share, please go ahead. Sai.
Sairam, brother. I don't know. So just to make it more a little bit clearer, so causal body consists of, according to Swami Sandhya, that's not whatever. The causal body consists of Chittam and the knower, right? Is that correct?
Yes.
And so the Antakarana here, when he says Antakaranam has to be held by Buddhi and Manam to move forward, that includes the knower, right?
So my understanding is, brother, based on this, my understanding, the knower is the principle of Atman, which is present in every human being as consciousness. That is part of the Karana Deha, the causal body. But this principle called Chittam, which is part of the Antakarana, is something which lives when the body dies. The mind and buddhi all merge into the Chittam, and that Antakarana moves along with the person into the next life. But the reality is, there is some, from my understanding, because the Chittam is pulled by the mind and the buddhi, unless the buddhi and mind turn towards the Atman, the knowing principle, the final merger does not take place. They stand separated. And Swami also uses another analogy. He says that on a branch there are 2 birds, and one bird is just a witness. The other bird is the one which indulges in the external world, and that is how this body is. So in our Karana Deha, or the causal body, there are 2 entities which are sitting side by side. as long as the bird which is externally focuses on the inner self, they are separate beings. So the entire process of dhyana is the mind and the buddhi which are externally focused. We pull them, control them, and let them focus on the Atman, which coexists within us. So that's my understanding. It is my, I would say, primitive understanding. So the knowing principle is not part of the antakarana, as far as I understand, because antakarana are four, which are manas, buddhi, chittam, ahamkaram. So that is my understanding, but anyone else can share. I am also as unclear about it like any of you, but I thought I will share what I think I have understood so far. Thank you.
Sai Ram, brother. Can you hear me, please?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. You are saying, as in the Prashnottara Vahini, knower is in the causal body. So the Baba has said Mahakaranam is beyond the causal body, which is the Atma.
Paramatma.
Paramatma.
Okay.
So the knower could be the Jivan or Jivatma. We call it Jiva.
Yes.
So, as Vimalasan is trying to say, the knower and the Chittam and the Ahangaram, these are pulled, if these are pulled by intellect and mind in the right path, then the Atman is achieved.
Yes.
So that is why the knower can be put as the main person here as a Jiva, no? We call it Jiva, or the image of Atma, no?
Yes.
So it could be argued that way also, no? That's what
yes, it could be.
Yeah. That's what Brother Vimalasan is trying to say. That
yes, I think so. But that's why I said my understanding could be limited, but this is what I understand today.
Yeah. That's it.
Okay, that helps.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Because say I will read out I think Maniyanti is on the line in the what basically it says in Prashnottara Vahini is Karana Deha Mani Nemi. What is Karana Deha is the question. And the answer is Chittamu. Chittam. And then Swami goes on to say Nyatato Kudu Nunnadi. That means it is joined with the knower.
Yeah.
Kudi ulladu in Tamil you can say, okay. It is joined with the knower.
Yeah.
So that is the way. But Swami says Karana Deha is Chittam.
Yeah.
And then he goes on to say it is joined with the knower.
No.
Okay, so that's what it says.
Yeah.
So one could say the Karana Deham is Chittam. But it has a link, to the knower principle.
Yeah.
Okay. So, that's the way Swami has. Maybe the way I also understand is the Chittam cannot function by itself.
Yeah.
The mind also cannot function by itself. They are drawing some energy from the Atman.
Yeah.
Okay. So without that, they cannot function. So that is what I sort of understand. But maybe Swami will make us it clear. But I just wanted to separate the concept of Atman to Antakarana. That's all I would say.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Even in the same chapter, even in the same chapter, if you go down, what you said is correct. Atman is helping helping the mind and intelligence. Otherwise, they cannot get energy. It is helping. Yeah. If you go down, yeah. That's okay. Thank you.
Sai Ram, one more clarification in that particular point, Brother Aruno and the other brothers have given the input on that, the four faculties, Manas, Buddhi, the Chittam and Ahangaram. And what is also there is another way of looking at Manas, Buddhi memory, and knower, or the Atman. So what is the connection between the ego and the Atma? Is two different concepts, or the philosophy, or maybe two different kind of interpretation? What is the connection between the ego and the Atma? Is maybe that's I want to have a little bit of explanation on that one, where it maybe varies, or where it divides into the ego or in the Atma. Manas, Buddhi, memory, and ego, one set. Manas, Buddhi, memory, and Paramatma, or the knower. So under what circumstances these two comes into play, two different sets comes into play?
So, sister, maybe I will go at it first, unless somebody else has something to say. The Antakarana comprises of 4 faculties. One is Ahankaram, that is not the Atman. So, memory is Chittam, Ahankaram is ego. Okay, they form what is called Antakarana. They stand apart from the Atman, from as far as I understand. Okay, because they are all, as Swami said, they are all part of the 5 elements. There are 5 elements. The Antakarana is also made up of the 5 elements. That does not function without the Atmic energy. So Atman is separate from that. Swami would say in the Sankhya principle, it's the 25th principle. The 4 principles are the Manas, Buddhi, Chittam, Ahamkaram. You asked about how does the Ahamkaram and Atman differ? Swami uses the word ego. This is the explanation Swami gives for ego. Swami says edging God out. The faculty of the mind which edges God out is called ego. That means it does not give room for God. That is Ahamkara. But if you say Aham, that principle is actually the Atman. Swami would say Aham. The I principle, Swami says, is even if you want to call it the individual Atman, what a Jiva Atman, that is the I principle. But you know, that's my understanding. But others can share your thoughts, please.
Sorry, I don't know. Can you repeat that the explanation Swami gave for Ahankara? You said I couldn't grasp the thing clearly.
See, Swami says ego. Ego is ego. E means edging, means pushing. If you want to put edging God out.
Oh, okay.
So that means it does not give any room for God. The aspect of the mind which does not give any recognition for the principle of God and thinks that this body is the thing which exists, that is ego.
Right.
Okay, so that's the Ahankaram should not be confused with Atman, is what I just wanted to say. It is just a part of, it's a faculty of.
Right. For Sister Ananti's question, I can say this, but I'm not. I don't know. Can clarify that. But what my understanding is the connection. The knower. That's what the Atman or Paramatman. I think we almost those 2 words we use in a synonymous way. So Atman is the ultimate, but then the 2-word examples. So the one which is not involved in anything and standing as a pure witness is Atman. Atman, God, whatever it's, and the Jivatma or the knower is I think it is according to Shankara, Adi Shankara, they give this example: the sunlight reflects on small in water in some vessels or whatever. So that that also that reflects that has a light, but it's not original light. So it has limitations. And just like that, there's the reflection of Atma on Ahankara is the Jivatma or Nova. And so because of its association with the ego, as you said, as I said, it rejects God, and the ego stands out. So when that Noah fully sublimate the ego or eliminate the ego, then it merges with the Atman. So I thought I can say only this much for a question. I don't know how that this thing, if anyone can correct me or whatever. Thank you, sir.
So I maybe we have talked about causal body. They have introduced another concept also. So causal body is the Karana Deha. There's something called Mahakarana Deha. Okay, that's the fourth principle which Swami talks about. And Swami says that that principle, without which nothing can exist independently. So that principle exists independently, and that is the real witness. It witnesses everything in this world. That Shuddha Chaitanyam, which is basically, that is the Chit principle, and that is called Mahakarana. So beyond the Karana Deha, there is that principle which is all-knowing principle that Swami calls Swayam Jyoti. It is self-effulgent, and that is the witness, and that is called Mahakarana, which I think is the Atman or Jivatman in our existence. Okay, so I thought I would just clarify that. But we are going into another completely different Vaginis. I'm very, very sorry. But you all can read up if you want. Online also it's available, Prashnottara Vahini. But I thought, they are sort of linked because this question came up, what is Antakarana? So I did some reference and research, that's all. Sorry.
Thank you, Sairam. It gives me a lot of light on that particular area. Thank you so much. Yeah.
So I think we will move on then, if it's okay with others.
Yeah.
Okay, Sairam, Sister Kalyani, please move on.
See, everyone in the world has a nature of behaving and acting in two different ways, one outside and another inside. This is known to all, though generally people do not show this publicly. Just as people lose even the little joy that they have worrying over the affections they may have in their family, so they lose their internal peace when faced with physical obstacles or troubles. For example, consider a cart. It cannot move by itself, can it? It can move only when two bullocks are yoked to it. And the cart can move safely only when the bullocks are trained to pull carts and when they are set used to the road on which they have to walk. Instead, if they are ignorant of the process of pulling carts, if they have not walked on the road, if they have never stepped out of their shed, or if they have always moved only round and round the post to which they have been tied in their own mire, the journey cannot proceed, and the cart will itself face danger. So also the inner consciousness, Antakarana, cannot move of itself. It must be attached to the externally related bullocks, the intelligence, buddhi, and mind, manas. Then only can it move forward, following the bullock's tracks.
Thank you, sister. I think this is what we were discussing, some of the thoughts here. If anyone has anything to share, please go ahead. If not, we will move on.
Sairam, I have a small question. The bullocks is going forward. It can't because he mentioned about the bullocks because it can go only forward because bullock can't come backward. I guess I saw. So
Yeah, so I think your question is it forward or backward? Is this a
yeah,
question?
it's only the bullocks can go forward. It can't reverse back.
So I think from what I understand from the previous paragraph, the bullocks can go two ways. Forward only, but two ways. One is it can go outside or it can go inside. That's my understanding, but I will open it up for anyone else to comment, please.
Sai Ram, the bullocks, if it's not going forward, it can deviate the path and go somewhere else. Where it wants to go, it doesn't go. So it reaches place which can trouble it. So that means our earnest desire is it should go towards the Atman. The body, the mind, and all the faculties, we try to go towards. So it doesn't go straight forward, means it can deviate and not towards the destination. That's what I understand. Thank you, Sai Ram.
Thank you very much, Hans. Thank you. Anyone else would like to share any thoughts, please?
Yeah, Sai Ram, brother. So the antakarana supposed to go forward. That means we have to give training, whatever you said. If we don't give training, the bhukti and mind, it doesn't go. So because the bhukti is the one ultimately control the mind. Mind not supposed to control the bhukti. So whatever you said before, the truth, righteousness, peace and love, if you train them properly, then it will go whatever the destination's correct path. Thank you, brother.
Thank you very much, brother. Thank you.
Sorry,
the
bullocks is tied up with the pole because it can't go. It never ever can't go out. Is
Okay.
it so?
Yes, I think that you are right, brother. I think Auntie has explained, because the real forward is towards Atman. Everywhere else means either it's going round and round or it's going after something else. Thank you.
Sairam, if I understand correctly, is it the meaning that gives inner consciousness means antakarana? Is that the right meaning? Because the consciousness is God itself. That is Atma. That is the Paramatma. So the inner consciousness is in that the Jivatma. That I think that the Jivatma is different from the antakarana. That Manam, Buddhi, Sittam, and Ahangaram. Those are totally different aspects. Why they give this in translation antakarana for inner consciousness? I couldn't understand. Please explain. Thank you.
Sai Ram, I also don't understand why they use that inner consciousness for antakarana. Antakarana and inner conscience are entirely different, and it is not affected by anything. It is only the witness. So the other things don't you have any level with the inner consciousness. I think both are quite different. The translation misleads us a little bit, I think. Thank you, Sai Ram.
Sai Ram, last week also we talk about the same thing, brother. I think you explained last week.
Yeah, I will repeat it. See, the thing is, in my personal study of these Vahinis, and I got some of these doubts which you all are also having. So about a few years ago, I realized there's no place to turn to. So what I took upon myself is to go to the original source, which is the Telugu Vahini, where Swami, you can really read. I also was able to get the original Sanatana Sarthi articles for some of these Vahinis, which are actually available online if anyone is interested. There are all the Sanatana Sarthis from 1958 is available online. So if I went and looked at the original Sanatana Sarthi, which was translation by Sri Kasturi, in which he has used the word antakarana without any translation. But you should understand, later on in the past 10, 15 or maybe 20 years, there have been some projects to make it easy for English-speaking people. And so I don't know who has done this. If you go and look at the, some group of individuals, I think they're all mainly from the US. They took it upon themselves to change some of these translations so that it's easily understandable for English-speaking people. And I think someone has introduced the term inner consciousness. So the inner consciousness is a concept which is can be very misleading, and people may think that it is the Atman. So the ideal solution is to go to the source and discuss. Unfortunately, we have a few people, like I think Mani Auntie is also here today. Swami has sent people who understand Telugu well, and I think so that we understand. That is why these discussions are important, because even scriptures, even including Swami's Vahinis, over time will undergo lots of changes, and in another 100 years, it may have completely different terms, which happens to many sacred literature, unless a few serious people take it up as a serious study and work on changing and fixing some of them. So these are some of the projects which the Central Trust is interested in, and they are looking into it, but they have not yet made much progress today. Let me put it that way. So, okay. Sai Ram.
Sai Ram, Arun.
Sai Ram. Yes.
According to Swami, he has clearly explained Antakarana is Gnanendriyas, the 5 Gnanendriyas, including the Manas, and he pulls that out of the Dashendriyas, he pulls out these 4, Mana, Buddhi, Chitta, Ahankara, as Antakarana. So it's very clearly said, it's not inner consciousness, it's inner instruments. We can translate it as inner instruments. Of inner consciousness. So there are 2 different concepts and entirely different. So according to you, as somebody must have translated in a way so that the Westerners can understand this Antakarana. And Swami is clearly saying this Mano, Buddhi, Chitta, Ahankara, they have, especially the intelligence, Buddhi and Manas, should be trained in such a way that they can travel on the familiar paths and reach the goal. That is, they have to travel inside and reach the Atman. That is what Swami is trying to say. And he says this Antakarana is a cart. It is compared to a cart which is drawn by 2 bullocks, Buddhi and Manas. So these 2 bullocks should be trained very well so that they can travel inwards and reach the goal. That's what I understand. I hope so, Sai Ram.
Thank you very much, Auntie. So this is Mani Auntie. For those who may not know, she has been a devotee of Swami from 1946. So we are fortunate to have her also take part in the study set.
Sai Ram, Sai
Ram. Sai Ram, that makes a lot of sense. My understanding also, because all these manas and buddhi, they have been trained to look outwards all this time. Throughout our lifetime, we have been looking outward. But now we are here to train the manas and buddhi to train inwards. That's what the idea is. That's what Swami is driving us through this point. Thank you, Sai Ram.
Okay, Sai Ram. If there are no other thoughts, we will move on. Sister Kalyani.
So, earlier than the journey, the bullocks, intelligence and mind should be conversant with the road to the village that the inner senses are eager to reach. They must be trained to proceed in that direction. If this is done, the journey will be easy and safe. Instead, if the draft animals have no knowledge of the pathways of truth, righteousness, peace, and love, Satya, Dharma, Shanti, and Prema, And if they have never once trodden that path, the cart, the inner senses themselves, might come to grief. Even if they are prepared to proceed, they will only drag the cart to the familiar post and the accustomed mire of confusion, injustice, cruelty, indiscipline, and falsehood. What then of the journey? When is the arrival to be? Therefore, intelligence and mind have to be taught the art of pulling the cart and moving steadily along the road. This has to be done by repetition of the Lord's name, japa, and meditation, dhyana.
Thank you very much, sister. I think it's pretty clear. There's nothing much for me to add. I will leave the participants to share your thoughts or comments, please, Saira. I guess if there's no one saying anything. So the thing is, I think what Swami is doing is Swami is sort of introducing the concept of meditation or dhyana. And he's setting the stage and telling us what exactly are we going to achieve, what has to be trained, where do we have to go, and what are the distractions. And I think Swami is laying out all this. So we know what exactly meditation entails. And I think meditation and japa seems to be the means by which we are going to train the manas and buddhi to go on this safe journey, the real goal where we will be freed from everything. And we will be able to travel on the path of the four values which Swami has listed out here, Satya Dharma. So that is the whole purpose of meditation. That's the foundation or the introduction to this topic by Swami is what I understand. So I will let anyone here share any thoughts you have, Saira.
Sairam. So essentially that Bhagawan is saying that the principle of truth, righteousness, peace and love must be mastered and understood and followed as a prerequisite plus japa and meditation. All these have to be combined and followed so that Antakarana finally reaches the Atman state. Atman. This is my some reflection based on this Saira.
Saira, brother, Saira. Anyone else has something to add, please? If not, we will proceed, Sister Kalyani.
One-pointedness and concentration. People are suffering despair and defeat on account of the waywardness and unsteadiness of their inner senses. This is the result of inability to control and guide the bullocks of intelligence and mind, unused as they are to meditation, repetition of the divine name, to the extent of even stepping along that path. At such a time, the conflicting desires infecting the mind have to be quenched and controlled. The mind has to be focused in one direction. People must walk determinedly, using all their effort for the purpose of the aim and achievement they have set before themselves. If this is done, no force can pull them back. They can attain the position that is their due. Plunge the wayward mind, which is fleeing in all directions, in contemplating of the name of the Lord. The effect will be like concentrating the rays of the sun through a piece of magnifying glass. The scattered rays develop the power of a flame to burn and consume. So too, when the waves of intellect and the feelings of mind get one-pointedness through the converging lens of the Atma, they manifest as the universal divine splendor that can scorch evil and illumine joy. Everyone is able to gain success in their profession or occupation only through one-pointed attention. Even the pettiest of tasks needs the quality of concentration for its fulfillment. And even the toughest problems yields before unswerving endeavor.
Thank you very much, sister. I think Swami has very, very clearly explained to us what we are facing, what are the problems with the mind and the inner senses, so the Antakarana. So as you can see in the last two paragraphs, they have translated the word Antakarana as inner senses. So then Swami also saying, Swami is giving the analogy of the magnifying glass, the rays of the sun being focused. So I think Swami is introducing the concept of one-pointedness, or ekagrata, as Swami would say. So I will stop here, and if participants can share your thoughts, please go ahead. I guess maybe there's nothing for us to discuss because very, very clearly Swami stated by Swami, I guess. I just wanted to, I thought the first paragraph, the sentence, using all their effort for the purpose of the aim. Swami, doesn't want us to be, only partial in our application. He wants all the efforts which we can muster towards this goal. Only then we can, because then I think in the last paragraph, Swami says, even for smallest things, to accomplish small things, we have to have concentration. So such a huge, tough problem needs that much more effort and concentration, and all of our efforts and energies. I thought those are the things which Swami is trying to say. That's what I got from these paragraphs. I will again ask the participants if you would like to share any of your thoughts, please. Saira.
Sairam, I think Swami says that determination and sincerity of thought is very, very important to be successful in the process. So first of all, we have to clean the mind, control the mind, and make a determination. You just go sit in a place for 10 minutes, and if you don't do well, then say, okay, I cannot do that. Swami says determination, that is every day at that particular time, at the particular duration. If you can really work well, then you can definitely face success. Thank you, Saira.
Sairam, Balandi, I agree that we always, our mind always drag us to not to do, you won't succeed, and that kind of negative thoughts will come. But as Balandi said, we have to make us to, we are going to do, and we will do it, and always we have to tell the mind to do, then we can control our mind to do, and we can succeed. Sairam.
And also you can hope for Swami's blessings. If you're really sincere and you want to do it, definitely Swami will help us. So the sincerity and the intensity of your thought counts a lot. If you really feel inside, okay, I have to see Swami in my meditation, I have to concentrate my mind, I have to achieve this goal somehow, I'm sure there will be success. We can try. Not that we can try, we do it for a few days and weeks and then give up. We have to continue doing that. There will be a time when we face success. I'm sure about it because Swami is behind all our efforts and he will lead us in the correct path. Thank you, Sai Ram.
Sai Ram, thank you. Sai.
Sai Ram, even we can try in the study circle, maybe 3 minutes, have some prayers and some mantras or anything to control our mind and thoughts. We can try to, Sai Ram.
Okay, Sai Ram.
Sai Ram, brother. For Dhyana, we started with that we have to have a control of mind. In this first paragraph, Swami is talking about the conflicting desires infecting the mind. What are the things you think as a conflicting desires? That's shall we discuss on that also little detail to understand more, please? Thank you, Sai Ram.
Sai Ram, sister, I think very good question. I will open it up for a discussion.
Desires is the worldly desires. We have to control that desires, ceiling of desires. That's it. How can we control it? The namasmarana is the best way to control the desires, control the mind. That's the way Swami says that control the mind is that namasmarana always say that. Swami's way that namasmarana and focus only the Swamis. That's the one-pointed focus that aim to the Swamis. Swami of that whatever you mind the God. That's the way I guess. Sai Ram, thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Anyone else would like to share your thoughts, please? What are the conflicting desires which we have to control?
So, Sai Ram, brother, for the mind is the one major part here. So, thought and desire is the one we have to control that one. So, you have to take whatever the previous people said, take maximum effort and no doubt and move on. Thank you, brother.
Sai Ram, brother, thank you. So what are the conflicting desires which we have to control? I will go again.
Brother, Rajawal has already said worldly desires, but it is different for people to people. And so, say the three things I usually say that it could be thinking of some other person, thinking of some philosophy, some goal, say some ideology, ideology, or thinking of some thing, some stuff. Say I want to buy a car or a good car or whatever. So it could be a person, thing as a mind on a person, mind on a thing, mind on an ideology.
Sai Ram, I have a comment. I have a comment that our desires are controlled by our impulses, and if impulses are controlled.
Sai Ram, sister, we are losing you. Hello. Okay, I think sister will come back. Anyone else would like to share a thought, please?
Yeah,
Sai Ram. Okay, Sai.
Yeah, my impression. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, my impression is that I think our desires are controlled by our impulses. And if our impulses are under control, if you don't do everything by instantly impulse and think twice, okay, Swami is teaching us such and such, and I do want this as a burning desire, but no, this is not good for me. Then once the impulses are controlled, then obviously I think the desires can be controlled by thinking twice, 3 times, get back to it and don't do it impulsively. Then I think desires, that's what my personally, when I practice this, that I don't impulsively go and just get it. I think over it again and again. And then the message comes from Swami that no, this is right and this is not right. So that was a small comment that it's our impulses which make us do wrongful things.
Okay, thank you very much, sister.
Thank you. Thank you, Sairam.
Sairam, if I say an example, okay, some people say we don't have time to do dhyana or meditation or praying for this. They say no time. Then we have to make a time. If I say I wake up on 6 o'clock, then we can make 5 minutes earlier or 10 minutes earlier and we can do it. And also our mind will say, okay, put the alarm. It's like a go negative way. Okay, you can wake up later, then off the alarm and things like that and stop. We have to make the effort to one alarm come, we had to wake up and do it. That's the thing. That's the way we had to, every action we have to go forward and positive way. Then and also surrender to God, like ask Baba to help us to do this. Like Balandi said, then we can do it.
Thank you very much.
Sairam, if we can cut a line between wants and needs. When we want to buy something, we first find out whether it is a need. I need it. Can I survive without that? But if I can control that way of buying things only for my necessity, I think a certain portion of the desires can be controlled. Thank you, Sairam.
Anyone else would like to share thoughts, please? Sairam Stananti.
Another brother, he also wants to try something, but if I want to go, then I will tell my
Yes, please go. Please go.
From the discussion, I observed and I understood there are 2 points here. Sister Aruna's question, how to identify the conflicting desires. And for that question, I believe 2 sets of answers came in. One set of answers, it's about how to control your desire. Even though that is connected to this one, but Sister Aruna's question, my understanding is how to identify the conflicting desires. I believe if Aruna can maybe confirm her question, she's asking how to identify the desires are whether that is supporting desires or conflicting desires, or even I have 5 sets of desires, whether how to identify which are supporting desires, which are conflicting desires, or if that is the case, my understanding, Sister Aruna's question hasn't been fully addressed in this discussion. That is my personal view, and maybe Aruna can point out whether the question is answered or not.
Yes, Sister Sairam. I didn't get the answer yet. I really want to understand that conflicting, Swami, because conflicting desires, if you understand only, we can control the mind. So that part has to be clear in order for us to make the meditation. So that part, I think, little more things to be.
Okay, so I will go. So let me take an opportunity if it's okay with others. See, Swami says there are 3 things which we are confronted with. Our mind is confronted with 3 things in this world. One is Shiva, the second one is Jiva, the third one is Prakriti. Our mind is always confronted with 3 things, 3 entities in this world. One is Shiva, which is God, Jiva, the individuals, and Prakriti, the nature. So the mind has to choose between these 3 things which it has confronted with. If you want to go after Shiva, God, there are 2 other things which are conflicting, which will cause conflict. The one is the Jiva, the individuals around you, or Prakriti, the world and its creation. Okay, so the mind gets attached to either people or either it gets us attached to things. So Swami always says we should not let the caring of the body, our body, or the people around us, including family and friends, or achievement of things in this world, come in the way of reaching God. They should not overwhelm, and they should not come in the way of reaching God. So in this world, that's what we are confronted with. Jiva, the Shiva is the one who is within. Outside of us, we see individuals and the creation. So the individuals and the creation, including family, should not overwhelm us. Because what Swami says is sometimes our own overindulgence with these things can come in the way of alerting even the little time which we can use for our focus towards God. Okay, so that is what I understand. I will stop here. If anyone else would like to share thoughts.
So, Sai Ram brother, it's a very good explanation. That's what Swami always says. Attachment only with God, and other attachments come from the five senses, is going to give some pain. And that pleasure is not going to be forever. Eventually, you have to go through the pain too. So attachment always with the God. Thank you, Sai Ram.
Sai Ram.
Thank you, Sai. Thank you, Sai Ram. That's a good explanation, brother. Thanks.
Okay, so we will, shall we proceed then? We will go forward? Unless someone has something to add to the discussion so far. Okay, then we will move on, sister.
The value of chanting the divine name and meditation. People are endowed with unlimited powers. Not a single person is without them, but the road is missed when one is unaware of this truth. To gain awareness of this power, one must join the company of the holy. One must strive in spiritual practice, sadhana, and one must practice repetition of the divine name and meditation. Of what avail is it, even though you have each item of provision in plenty, when you do not know how to cook them into palatable food? Similarly, people have in themselves all the provisions needed for their upkeep and progress, but they discard them lightly and leave them unused because they are ignorant of the process of benefiting by them. People must seek to see and understand the universal power, Sakti, the one without a second, which is the basis of all the multifarious manifestation of name and form in the world. The mind flies at a tangent all the time. Meditation, dhyana, is the process by which it is trained to acquire concentration. As a result of meditation on the highest Atma, Paramatma, the mind will withdraw from sense objects and the sensory world. Just at that time, the intellect, buddhi, must assert its authority and command the mind, manas, not to entertain any feeling except the thought of the fundamental basis.
Sai Ram, sister, thank you. I think I just wanted to, one of the comments which I wanted to make, but I forgot. The previous, one of the early paragraphs in Dhyana Vahini, if you will go back and look at the material, in one place Swami says, even though the actions are external, the attraction should be internal in one place. So even when there are distractions outside, individuals, family commitments and things like that, as long as we have the internal attraction towards God, which is not broken, then Swami says that is the path forward. And it's related to the previous question, but I will come back to the current paragraphs which we have read. So as Swami has assured that all of us have all that is needed because God has given us. Swami just says that we don't know how to use them. And so Swami is trying to go through the process of how to use them, the resources which all of us, each and every one of us have. And he says if we use them properly, a success is guaranteed and we will reach the Paramatma. That's what I understand. And as he said, because Dhyana becomes a means to also control the senses from the external world. So I will pause here, and if anyone would like to share your thoughts, please go ahead.
Sairam, if we concentrate on the last line of the middle paragraph, second paragraph, people must seek to see and understand the universal power, the one without a second, which is the basis of all the multifarious manifestations of name and form in the world. And also then in the next paragraph, as a result of meditation on the highest Atma, the mind will withdraw from sense objects and the sensory world. So our issue is this: how the mind could withdraw from sense objects and the sensory world. So Baba is saying meditation on the universal power, the one without a second. So if we see that the God, the Atma that is behind this multiplicity, the one that existing, pervading through each and everything, if we have a thought on that or think on that or keep an eye on that principle, then naturally the mind will withdraw from sense objects and sensory world. So this is a very, very good point which matches with Bhagawan's other discourses. So that is what I just wanted to draw others' attention. If you can take it in the right way. Thank you, Saira.
Thank you very much, brother Saira. Anyone else would like to share anything?
Sairam, this paragraph Swami beautifully explained. Everyone can understand. I think is this paragraph the one Brother Sivadas explained. Sairam.
Thank you.
Sairam.
Sairam, brother.
Swami gives us 3 ways to go reach God. No? The first one is selfless service, which is clear heart and mind to go over the first steps. After that, Swami says that next one is the Namasmarana. That is very, very good path to go forward to that spiritual way. The third one is Dhyana or meditation. These all 3 are interconnected. If you do that first 2, that selfless service, after that Namasmarana, then we can reach to the third one is the Dhyana, meditation. This is very, very easiest way. That's what I mind. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, brother. Thank you.
Arun?
Yes, Auntie.
Here's what Swami means by universal power is the Chaitanya which is present in all of us. The Advaita, the one without the second. That's what Swami is referring to. So the Chaitanya which is present, but which is the basis of all the names and forms which we find in the world. And when the mind flies here and there, it just goes wayward, then meditation will help us to bring it back. But at the same time, even at that moment also, the mind doesn't listen. If it doesn't listen to the intellect, buddhi, which should guide, then we are not we are not successful in doing the meditation. So manas should be the important thing. In the previous, I think last time when we had the study circle, Swami says mind should be used as a boat to travel towards the Atman. So that is how it is. So that Chaitanya power which is present in all of us, we have to recognize it. We have to see and understand. I think that's what Swami is trying to say. Yes, Sairam.
Thank you very much, Auntie. Thank you.
Sairam brother, I like this one. Inside the kitchen, you have everything to cook the food. So you have to know, first you have to train yourself how to make nice dishes. Same way here too, you have to train your mind and your bhakti, whatever we mentioned. So if you control the mind or you think about Paramatma, then you will dispassionate from the attachment. Then you can control the mind and you can walk on the right path. The dispassionate from the worldly things, then you will move on to the right path. Thank you, Sairam brother.
Thank you very much, brother. Thank you.
Sairam, as Brother Rajagopal said, to direct the mind towards whatever we seek, the goal, we have to purify the mind. And selfless service and namasmarana are the greatest tools to purify our mind, and that will help us to concentrate. Thank you, Sairam.
Sairam, Auntie Sairam.
Sairam, brother. Is it possible for me to understand the last sentence, please? It says, just at the time the intellect must assert its authority and command the mind, not to entertain any feeling except the thought of the fundamental basis. Which fundamental basis we are trying to understand in this, please?
Sairam, sister. I think the Mani Auntie has just mentioned that Chaitanya, or the consciousness, or that energy which is the foundation, the universal power or whatever, is the basis of everything. That's where in the previous paragraph Swami says that one without the second, which is the Atman, which is the fundamental basis of all these multifarious manifestations of name and forms in this world. So everything is grown out of that one without the second, or the Atman or Paramatman, which is the fundamental basis as much as I understand. I don't know, I will open for others to comment if there's anything else to complement that, please.
Thank you, Sairam.
So maybe we will read another paragraph. We may not be able to do full justice because we are more or less coming to the end of time, but still we can read it and we can have a little bit of discussion, but then we can continue from next week onwards. Sairam, Sister Kalyani, we can go.
When its basic truth is known, the mind will not be deluded by the evanescent, the untrue, and the unblissful. Instead, it will welcome the blossoming of joy, happiness, and truth, and it will not be affected by sorrow and grief. Nature, Prakriti, and the life force, prana, are indestructible. Right? So everything that is the product of the mingling of these two has a new value inherent in it. One's life also assumes a new splendor when one visualizes and realizes bliss in the awareness of the supreme reality, Satchitananda, through a mind and intellect, manas and buddhi, that is purified and transformed by means of meditation, dhyana. The taste of the fruit is evident when one sees the whole of it eaten with no portion left behind. So too, when the taste of meditation is once discovered, one will discard all doubt and discussion thereon and engage oneself fully in it. Therefore, begin meditation, each one of you, from today, even from this moment.
So Swami is not wasting much time.
Yes.
And I think he doesn't want us also to waste time. So
Sairam, brother, the way I said, next week we will practice. 5 minutes. Sairam.
not next week, sister. Not next week, sister. This moment.
Yes.
Just
No,
now.
no, 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 no.
Just now.
We will start from today, everyone. No, no, I didn't mean that. We will start from today, everyone, but we will practice all together in once with. We do in the study circle sometimes. Some people ask lots of questions. How you cannot? We cannot do it. Mind is distracting and everything. For that, we can do once. Yeah, Saira.
Arun?
Yes, Santi.
Nature, Prakriti and the life force are indestructible, Swami says. Does he mean Prakriti and Purusha, which are the indestructible? How can we understand that term? Prakriti is indestructible and life force is also indestructible.
So I think, Auntie, I think the Prakriti which Swami is referring to here are the five elements. Okay, the five elements, because they are divine by themselves, are not destructible. The thing is, but the forms which the five elements form, they may undergo change. I think that's what Swami is referring to here. Because otherwise, Swami may be referring to our own innate nature also. I don't know. But even Swami in many places have said, the five elements never undergo destruction. The atom will never be destroyed, because if it is destroyed, there's Shakti, or it transmutes itself in the form of energy. So again, that is also part of the five elements. So I think that is where Swami is saying, but that is the real God, which we don't really see. The real Swarupa of the Prakriti, which is the Atman itself, we ourselves don't see. But because we are deluded by things which we perceive with our senses, we, without understanding that atoms are making those forms. And I think that is where we undergo sorrow. So I think once we understand this nature itself is God, which continuously changes its form, but it's never is destroyed, we will never be sorrow. Even if somebody dies, we will not be as sad, because we know that the person has not vanished into thin air or gone anywhere. So they're indestructible. I think that's what Swami wants us to say. That's why Swami in the previous sentence is saying, you will not be affected by sorrow or grief. Because all of our sorrow or grief is only because we get attached to a particular form or name. And then when that goes away, then we are grief stricken without realizing that actually there has been no destruction whatsoever. I think that's what Swami wants us to understand. That is my understanding. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think those are my understanding. That's my understanding. So I will let the audience also share their thoughts, please, Saira.
Saira, in Upanishads and other places, even Bhagawan mentioned it, that originally the basic of five elements is space, akasa. So akasa is eternal, because even the world is destroyed, the space is still there. So akasa, so when prana acting on akasa, the universe is produced. So the prana is coming from the God principle. So these two are the basic. One is the matter aspect, which is space, which is the basic element, and the prana, the life force. These are the two things. When combined, the whole world is born. And in us too, as brother explained, the body represents the Prakriti part, and the Atma inside represents the life force. So these two aspects, which is the first emanation from the Brahman principle according to the Upanishad, are indestructible. So basically they are not destroyed. So the product of these, the permutation and combination of these two, which is the world, that's a product of the mingling of these two, has a new value inherent in it. So even that whatever we see and feel and is also has value. It is also a God. It also should be respected. Something that meaning is there. That is what I read this one. Thank you, Sai Ram.
Thank you very much, brother. Very well put. Very well put. Sai Ram. Anyone else would like to share your thoughts, please?
So, Sairam, brother. So, the Prakriti, the nature, that means the world we experience, and the prana mean, you think, I don't know, whether the internal thing, if you want to make it bright, both, because we all bound to the both. So, if you want to brighten that one, the Dhyana is the best thing. That's what they are saying, or what?
Yes, that's good, yeah.
Yes,
brother. So that's what they're explaining, yeah? I don't know if you...
So here, nature refers to the 5 elements and the life force can be taken as Atma.
Yeah.
These two are indestructible. That's what I think it comes to.
Yeah.
Sairam.
Thank you.
So I think we will pause here. We can start from this point onwards. And I think Sister Ambika was very much eager that we do meditation. So what we are going to do is we will take a couple of minutes. No one is going to guide anything, and each of us can individually do it. After all, Dhyana is a completely internal activity. But we will just pause. At the same time, we all can think of a small start, a small spark of meditation, and then we will close. I hope if everyone is okay, we will do that. We will say 3 Omkarams. We will pause for a minute, and then we will break with Samasta Loka and Shanti Shanti. And then you all can take that spark and grow it by one focus. Okay, Sai Ram. Thank you very much.
Sai Ram. Good, Sai.
Wonderful. Sai Ram.
Oh, Sai Ram, brother, there's a there's a question in the chat.
Okay, we will go through the question.
Oh, someone is asking why Swami said Prakriti and Prana if they are the same.
No, I think Brother Sivadas has nicely explained. The Prana is the life force. Prakriti is the 5 elements. They are both intermingling. This world is created of that intermingling. In this world of duality, they are separate. That is, they seem separate. But as Brother Sivadas explained, they are actually intermingled, and that's how this entire world is created. So the purpose of meditation is to see that oneness in both of them and experience all of them as divine, as the same Atman or the same Paramatma. So I think with that we will start the small closing prayer and meditation side. Samastaloka sukhino bhavantu. Samastaloka sukhino bhavantu. Samastaloka sukhino bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.